Aries, welcome to your September 2016 love reading. It's so weird because I usually don't do readings at night. And the light is so... Well, I have this overhead light. It's not like specifically for filming. And so I think it's kind of more yellowish. And this thing is supposed to be aqua colored or teal colored, and you can see it probably is gonna, to me, as I look through this viewfinder, it looks like a spring green, so that's not representative of how it really is. Oh my gosh. So far, 3 major organic cards. So far, very interesting bunch of cards have come up. Let me see how many major arcana cards. We have the Chariot, the Death card, the Empress, and the Fool. So that's 4 out of, I guess there's 10 altogether. And there are only 22 major arcana cards versus, I think, like 55 minor. So they're outnumbered, so it's almost like half and half, and yet they are only 1/3 of the deck or less. So basically, just by knowing that, we can say that September may be very eventful for you. It may be kind of a turning point in some way. Based upon these 2 cards, which represent the current situation, these are both cards of heartbreak and grief, you know, and they really do connect with love. You know, the 3 of Swords sometimes can be when there's a love triangle going on, and it's causing a lot of, you know, drama and sadness. And the 5 of Cups can be about mourning a loss. Now, obviously, those are not cards that you want to get, right? But let's kind of work our way backwards to see what's happening. And remember that this is a general reading. Of course, you already know that. So don't say, oh my God, this is definitely going to happen to me. You know, I used to make the same mistake when I would listen to other people do readings. And it'd almost be to the point where I didn't want to listen because I didn't want to ever hear anything negative. Look at these cards symbolically, and then you will get a broader and, I think, more useful message from it. And I do feel that some of you have... you may be part of a love triangle, and maybe you are in the driver's seat of that lover's triangle, because this is the higher message is of people that have to make a decision. And because this reading is for you specifically, you're the one that has to do it, not the other party. So you could be having some kind of liaison or just involved with 2 other parties in some capacity. Maybe you're the other person in the relationship, either the other woman, the other man. We always say other woman, we never say other man. You notice that? And it felt weird to say that, but of course there are cases where there is a man who is the other man. Okay, so the overall card is the Empress card. And the Empress card can be anything to do with motherhood, with reveling in the senses. So it's a very sensual card. It's a card of creativity. So it's a very fertile energy, whether it's having children or, you know, birthing a creative project. So this could be the card of an artist. If you are an artist or somebody important to you or important to your life regarding your love life is involved in September. But assuming that the Empress is you, and it could, you know, totally be emphasizing the role of the mother. I'm going to just put it down so you can see it better. And maybe this is kind of informing your decisions if you're a mother and you're trying to do the best for your child. But in other cases, it could just mean that a Libra individual is a Libran is involved, whether it's the other party or if it's somebody who is, you know, if you are with a married person, it could be the sign of their spouse. But a Libran is the card, is the sign connected to the Empress card. The other thing could be just the sensual part of life, just living your life on that level and enjoying yourself and not feeling guilty about it. That could be another just general definition. And in a relationship, this could mean enjoying a relationship primarily on that level, the sensual side of things. Now, sensuality isn't bad, but if there is some sort of betrayal going on, then it can indicate that it's creating pain in other people's lives, right? And so we had for the past position, the Death card and the Chariot card. Now the Death card is pretty self-explanatory, but not the physical death of somebody close to you. It's the death of a way of life. So it's kind of like a passage or an old way going to make way for a new way. So with the Chariot card, you know, the Chariot connects to Cancer. So we might have a Libran and a Cancer somehow involved. And this would be in the past position, as I say, if it is an individual. But in terms of just the interpretation, what it symbolizes as, you know, thought or action, the Chariot can relate to taking charge of your life. And this may mean that you had to end a relationship, and that's with the Death card. But you know, with the Death card, it's really not something that you take charge with. It's something that is almost like irrevocable. It happens of its own accord. But I do feel like maybe you make a decision that leads to things getting cut off. You know, it may not be that you directly did something, but it still worked out that way. Because, you know, energetically, you may have decided in your mind, okay, I'm over this, I'm leaving, you know, for instance. And then the universe worked it out for you where, in the best case scenario, the other person leaves first, where you don't have to hurt the other person, you don't have to go through all of that drama. And, you know, I was just thinking about this because I do feel that somehow you were self-empowered to do this, or some of you were. And so the current position could be showing that maybe you did have to break someone's heart. Maybe you did cause another person to feel dejected or a sense of loss. And you were honoring your own pleasure. And I don't say that in an accusatory way. Now, some of you may have just decided, I'm having an affair and You know, I don't care who knows it. I don't care if, my spouse or my partner finds out about it, but I'm just not feeling it anymore. And that was your way of getting out of that relationship. And you didn't try to hide your tracks. Sometimes people do that too. But the higher message is this Two of Swords. So, as I said, you still may be faced with a choice, or there may be a stalemate. And sometimes there's a stalemate because there is this sense of the other person digging in their heels, for instance, and saying, no, I won't let you go. It's just something like that. And Aries, as, forceful as you can be at times, you're also not somebody who deliberately likes to hurt people. So you may kind of let things drag out. But since this is a higher message, I think it's kind of telling you that energetically, if you do not make a decision about, what's going on, that it will keep you mired in that. If it's something that you really feel is gone and there's nothing left in that relationship. So it's kind of like, I think, a warning, or that's a little bit too strong, but just like a little bit of a message that you might want to totally sever. Sometimes the Three of Swords can be cutting someone loose, and it's just like a clean break, and you have to do it because it'll stop the bleeding. Okay, so what crosses you is the King of Wands. Now, if I were just to say it immediately, I'd say, this is you. And, I would say you're your own worst enemy. And so I'm reading this in the reverse position as a challenge card. And I'm thinking of someone, who is throwing their weight around. And it can be that in your relationship, okay, excuse me, not going to yell over my own reading, as I was saying. What I think it's saying is that if you throw your weight around, you can create a lot of resentment in another person. And I just had Cancer flash through my mind. So if some of you, it's so funny. It's kind of cheesy for me because I'm thinking of, I used to watch the 700 Club. And Pat Robertson would always have this segment where he, squinch his eyes really tight and say, there's somebody out in the listening audience who's got a pain in their right side, and God is going to heal that for you. And that's what I felt like I just did. But what I have discovered, or maybe it's through reading too, because I tend to think more scientifically, whatever that means for me. And I really gravitate towards astrology. The tarot has been kind of a secondary thing for me. And one of the things they said was to say whatever comes to your mind, because you might just kind of second guess it and throw it away. So I was thinking Cancer. So if any of you have been involved with a Cancer, there may have been a power clash. The Chariot is connected to the sign of Cancer. I think I mentioned that. And, it's two cardinal signs that form a square with one another. That can cause a lot of power clashes. If you are connected to any of the cardinal signs, whether it be, and this is something I wanted to mention too, if you are connected to a Libra, as I mentioned, the Empress is connected to that sign, we do have a new moon. I believe it's on September 30th in Libra. So this would be in your 7th house, and this would be a new beginning in a committed partnership. But the way that I see it personally, a new beginning could be, getting your divorce papers. It doesn't necessarily, because, the seventh house is also the court system, the legal system. So it might just be like the new beginning is actually an ending too. And of course, the death card is also indicative of an ending. So you may have to examine your behavior for future relationships. In case you were just thinking that it was the other person's fault, you have to look at, and reflect on what you may have contributed to that situation. And if you are in a problematic relationship that you haven't left and you don't believe that you will be leaving, I would say, because I'm trying to think, there should be, I don't know when it is though. It might be on October. Yeah, I think it's on October 16th. So that's going to be in October where there'll be a full moon in Aries. And so there may be some endings at that point. And of course, with full moons, the sun is engaged in a polarity. So the sun will be in that seventh house, at the same degree of Libra. So that, so you're getting these triggers to the seventh house. And it's really important to pay attention to what comes up, whether you have any desire to leave a relationship or not. Some people may, feel a sense of loyalty, or they are still in love with their partner, even though there is a lot of discord. And so I'm not suggesting that everybody's going to be in one of these I keep saying threesomes, but love triangles, or just anything to do with being outside of the relationship. Some of you obviously are maybe suffering within a relationship. So there may be something else that you may be thinking. Maybe you're thinking, should I stay or go? Or maybe you're thinking about, other actions to take that you're hoping will make the relationship better. But there's a lot going on, obviously, regardless of, the specifics. What is in your favor is the Page of Swords, and I keep getting this card for some reason. This is a card that can deal with you being aware, up to date on whatever's happening. So the perfect example, I think, is the people who are kind of oblivious, and I would put Aries into this category. And now I'm getting a little bit paranoid about saying, these kinds of things, because occasionally I get people that say, oh, why are you, being so judgmental? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And then I'm thinking to myself, gosh, I don't want to get self-conscious, because I have to just be who I am. And when I say this thing about being oblivious, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So you guys are very immediate. You're very spontaneous. You're childlike. And this is what makes you so enjoyable and attractive to other people, because there's a freshness about you. I don't care if you're, 10 years old or 50 years old or 80 years old. You're going to have kind of a youthful attitude, and sometimes a childish attitude, sometimes a petulant attitude. But even your petulance can be very charming, because there's no guile. You're guileless. You don't have a facade. And people respect that. People admire those who are real, who aren't phony, and you're not that kind of person. Now, I'm generalizing. Some Aries people may have a rising sign that kind of clashes with that Aries, and they may put up a false image that doesn't really gel. But other people will see through it because you're just so obvious. But what happens a lot of times is that you don't really pay attention to details around you. Part of this is because you do see the bigger picture, but also you're very active. So you're not sitting around contemplating things, you're out doing things, taking action. And you're also someone who isn't really, you don't really like to reflect on things. You just are very responsive and spontaneous. And so you can be in a relationship and maybe not even see the clues. If you're the one who is being cheated on, you might not see the clues until the last minute. And this card is just saying, be aware. And sometimes it can even be about checking up on other people or spying, Obviously that's under extreme circumstances. And I'm certainly not advising people to invade other people's privacy. But not just taking things at face value is a good way of putting it. Because people can misrepresent themselves fairly easily to you, and you buy it. There's a certain gullibility within Aries, because they do have that innocence in a lot of ways. And it's a damn shame that there are people out there who would take advantage of that and take advantage of your generosity. But that's what the world boils down to sometimes. The people that give and the people that take, and it's too bad. But you're the type of person you have a very generous spirit, and you're not sitting there balancing books and deciding who has given you what in a relationship. So even if somebody does take you to the cleaners, you're not going to fret about it, because you have a very what's that word? A sense of abundance, and you're not the type of people that feel like you can ever lose money. You're the one who says there's more where that came from, and you really believe it too. The advice is the Fool card, and it's so funny because there's an archetype of the holy fool. I really associate this card with Aries, maybe because April Fool's Day is in Aries, but because it's the first card of the major arcana, because it represents somebody who's like a pioneer who's traveling, and I associate that with Aries, just traveling very lightly and just wanting to explore, wanting to expand. And so that is the call for you during this time. Obviously, the picture that I've painted is just one possibility. There may be others that don't involve a lot of drama. They just might involve individuals. This person may be that there's an air sign individual who is more appropriate for you. Of course, this is actually a Libra, so that is an air sign. But maybe it's kind of emphasizing that person versus maybe a Cancer individual. And maybe you're, putting off the inevitable, but you have to kind of break a heart in order to be able to move on with your destiny. And the outcome is the Knight of Pentacles, which is kind of unusual because the Knight of Pentacles really is about financial, somebody who is a real workhorse that's really driven to make money to sock away for their financial security. And so will you be that type of person? Now, you might meet somebody at work, and that might be, sometimes this can kind of indicate traveling. I think sometimes it could even indicate, whether or not you decide to move. I know the Two of Pentacles represents that, so I'm not sure if I'm confusing it with the Two of Swords. But, it's funny because I see water behind the person, so sometimes it can indicate, I don't know about this card specifically, but I know that the Two of Pentacles can indicate traveling long distances over bodies of water. But definitely you might have a dilemma on your hands, and the outcome is that you may direct your energies towards your career, and you may actually enter a period of stability. The Knight of Pentacles is a stable individual. The Knight in and of itself isn't very stable. It's actually emphasizing a rather unstable energy, because the Knight is a, I was going to say like a passionate force of nature. And it kind of represents the period, I think, like of adulthood up until maybe the late 30s. So there could be an individual featured that you are ending up dealing with. Could be an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. But it could be somebody from work. But this person, if this is the other person, this could be you. Because I was going to say that you may decide to channel your energy into something much more tangible and constructive. But if this is another person, then this person is going to be very down to earth, very, I was going to say stable, but also very plodding. And actually, I think it is connected to Taurus, but I always connect it to Capricorn, which is another cardinal sign, and there are Aries and Capricorns who get together. I can say that. I know that personally. So it's very interesting because we have a lot of drama at the beginning, and then it ends up being a very calm energy. So that might just be talking about how you're going to feel at the end of all of this. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, Aries. If you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. Otherwise, have a wonderful September. Bye.